Simon, we seem to be saying this a lot in recent weeks, but back to training after a weekend off. Is it another chance to refresh, or is it a bit more of a hindrance at this point?
A bit of both, to be honest, fellas. We've had more than we'd like. Week on, week off sort of stuff. It's our undoing. We should have beat Featherstone, and then things had been a little bit different and so on after that. But on the other side of it, Bradford with 12 men, and then going up to Newcastle, hard pitch. I don't really think it'll do us any harm. But yeah, the times where you just want to kick on and get in that grind of playing week to week as well, because there's some people still searching for the right level of form. Let's say they're not far off, but I think having a week off doesn't always help you.
Is there any fears that could sort of disturb the momentum that you're trying to generate with these back-to-back wins?
Not really. I think it is what it is. Regardless, what can we do? All we can do is look after ourselves this week and throw ourselves into Sheffield, which will be a tough game. They must have performed pretty well against Lee in the last couple, and everyone knows Lee and Feather head and shoulders above everyone else, and they've put a couple of good shifts in there. So yeah, they'll be coming ready and prepared for having a couple of tough games under the belt recently. But that's not to say we won't be ready. There'll be no excuses for a weekend off. I think everyone knows what's at stake. I think not a million miles off getting to that halfway point where the table starts taking its shape and whatnot. So we want to make sure we're still in the hunt. So on us really, it's just switch straight on tonight really. Tuesdays, normally you play on a Sunday, you come in Tuesday, it's not the most productive night. Everyone's a bit battered, a bit tired, catching up on sleep. Most don't sleep after the game and whatnot. But there's no excuse tonight. We need to come off fresh from that weekend off, bouncing into this week.
And Sheffield obviously played in that 1895 Cup semi-final against Lee, seemed to run them all the way. Have you had a chance to review that game? And also, do you think that by them having to play the extra week that we might see a bit of fatigue in Mark Aston's side?
Oh, I'm not really interested in any advantages we might get off them having a couple of tough games. I think that's irrelevant for us. We've just got to make sure we do our bit. But they've gone alright in those games. I did watch the game and I thought both teams probably played a little bit loose, whether that favoured or went against Sheffield, I'm not sure. But they did have some good parts of play which we're going to have to be good at to deal with this week. Obviously Thackeray and Farrell doing a good job in the halves. Tom Holmes coming on at 9. Halifax playing at 9, doing a good job for him. What else have they got? Some big boys: Mikey Wood, Brandon Douglas, Dickinson. Yeah, they've got a good set of players, and obviously on one edge they've got a lot of experience there with Chris Wellham and Ben Jones-Bishop as well. So they're a good team. Mark's done a really good job putting that team together. I think they've obviously surprised a few this year so far. But hopefully we can put a little bit of polish on and tidy up some areas that we weren't so great at against Newcastle, and play for a significant part of the game where at Newcastle I thought we probably played for half an hour.
Is there any sort of squad news you can let us in on? Any returns from injury? Any sort of dual reg players that we can look forward to?
Huddersfield doing well in the cup obviously is great for them, but probably doesn't help us. I think I put myself in his shoes. Probably be looking at freshening up his team, which probably won't help us, but there'll be a conversation there and see what happens. But in that regard, I think we're quite healthy, other than the notable long-termers that we've got already, who are coming along quite nicely, to be fair. Knowles is getting on and throwing himself into it every session, how he has been since day one. He's been great. Matty G is getting closer. He's had some positive news this week. He had a nerve conduction test again this week on his shoulder, and he's not a million miles off now. And Greg started running. He had a couple of infections in the wound in his foot after surgery, which probably in a roundabout way helped him in terms of a little bit more healing time, which has then got him back out on the field. And now he needs to get that running motion back and strengthen his foot and all the rest of it. But again, from how he looks and what the physios are telling me, he's probably not a million miles off either, maybe a month or so away. So, which will be great to have that full complement back in contention when that does come around. But at the minute we've got plenty of capable bodies, and there's a couple of tough decisions to make this week.
We'll move on to the game itself then. It's this week, as everyone's aware, it's Mental Health Awareness Week. We've got Andy's Man Club coming down with Invictus Wellbeing and a few other mental health charities. Just how important is it that we sort of help to spread this message and this positive vibe that it is alright for people out there to seek help should they need it?
Well, obviously Luke Ambler, former player for us, mate of mine, the stats behind male suicide is massive, and I think obviously spreading that message that it's okay to offload, it's okay not to be okay, that's really important. And everyone goes through it, Faz, everyone goes through rough times, but it's different for everyone. No matter how big the problem is, it's how big it is to that individual, and if they've got the right sort of support around them, it can go a long way towards getting them through them times. Obviously there's many that haven't, so yeah, just highlighting it, putting a bit of focus on it. We certainly won't do anyone any harm with it.